Welcome to the Marc Colser Podcast. I think I have a deviated septum. I really do.
Do you want a nose job? And you don't
No. Because if you have a deviated septum, they ask you if you want to get a nose job when you get
I know how it works. I was in medicine before
but I
got fired.
No, I have no issues with my nose. Somebody once actually, I had that conversation with somebody where I was like, I think I have a deviated septum. And they were like, oh, well, if you get that fixed, you can also just get a nose job. And I was like,
I don't think you need a nose job.
no, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I've never had an issue with my nose until that moment when you just made that comment.
Yeah,
so
and you have perfect teeth. Look at your teeth.
Well, thank you. You also have nice teeth. But yeah, moral of the story is I think I have a deviated septum. I've been meaning to schedule a ear, nose, and throat doctor appointment, and I keep getting lazy with that because I also feel like my hearing is shit. Saying that to somebody else whose hearing is shit.
Yeah.
So maybe we both maybe we'll get a 50% discount if we both book an appointment to an ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Dude, my hearing's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by shit. That
would have been a great opportunity for you to say, what? But yeah, so to start off this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the fact that I'm wearing a Tom Brady jersey right now because the GOAT might be retiring, and I'm a little bit sad about that. I'm actually sad, like legitimately sad. When LeBron James retires, I think I'm going to cry.
Okay. I think you should zoom in on my face at this part and make it a meme about when someone has no idea what
so then show that camera how little you give a fuck.
Keep talking to me.
Okay, so Tom Brady, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He has won 7 Super Bowls and is the best athlete of our generation. And now it's just gonna be zoomed in on your face as I'm saying all that.
I don't even know what I was doing. Was I pretending to talk right there?
I don't know what you were doing there, but we're gonna find out when we review the tape. But that's that. And so we're rolling into the episode now. Your name is Tara Yazdi. You were on the second episode ever of my podcast. Now you're back for this. We technically recorded this episode like a week ago, and then we realized, holy shit, we can do so much better than that. And so you're back here today. We're going to kill it. This is going to be great. Are you ready for it?
Yes. Let's get into it.
So the reason why you're on the podcast is because I don't know when that was, like early December or something along those lines, or maybe even late December. I don't know. I saw you post about NFTs on your IG story, and I have been in NFTs now for the last probably 5 or 6 months, and I hadn't gotten into Ethereum-based NFTs yet, but I saw you talking about, I think it was Alien Friends, and then you and I FaceTimed about it, and next thing you know, I aped the fuck into a bunch of NFTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what
what got you
into Alien Friends? I didn't. Should have.
It's all good. You should have gotten into Deadfellas.
Should have.
Yeah,
I think I put you onto that one too.
No, hell no, you didn't. I've been a fella.
Isn't it funny how I think this, like, I told you about that, you told me about this, is gonna like become such a popular thing as NFTs become so big.
Oh yeah, we have. So my best group of guy friends, we're all on Telegram together, a messaging app. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you can literally look at your messages from like 4 years ago and you can search a keyword. So it makes it really easy to find an old message between you guys.
I think that you can do that with regular text too.
Yeah, but it's a pain in the ass. Like iMessaging sucks for group chats. Like Telegram is 10x better. I hope
Only
Apple.
if you don't have an iPhone.
No. We all have iPhones.
There's no green texters in your group.
No, hell no. We'd boot your ass right out of the chat. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. Yeah. What are we doing here? Green? No, literally Telegram is by far the best group messaging app. Regardless, we can pull up old messages. And so we have messages where we were talking about like mutant apes when they were like 4 Ethereum and now they're 21. It's like, man, would have been a nice profit there.
Pain.
Would have been real nice. But hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, so what got you into NFTs in general?
So I, as you know, have just begun exploring tech. I did a little career pivot. And I really wanted to get into like other things too, including crypto. And I didn't know how I was going to step into it. I was having really bad FOMO. And then NFTs gave me an opportunity to explore crypto with art being at like the forefront, which I love art. I walk around New York City by myself all the time just to like go to art galleries and browse. So it was something that I could really relate to. And yeah, here we are.
So what do you say to somebody who's like, why? Like, why are you getting into NFTs? Like, obviously you appreciate the art and whatnot, but like the whole copy and paste argument of like, you could just copy and paste that. So what's your argument as to why you believe NFTs are important?
I mean, I think they're practical because, as I don't know when we'll later define, or we can just define it now, they all have supposedly utility. So you gauge its value based on utility. The utility is like what comes with the NFT, real world value, whether it be like collaborations or merch or et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into the specifics with like specific projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that that's why it's different. You holding an NFT also then means you have access to all these other things, and including community, which is really important and becomes valuable as a networking opportunity also.
I think NFTs are, I'm gonna answer for you here, and you tell me if this kind of goes with what you're saying. I think NFTs are a very difficult thing to explain to somebody why they're dope until you get into it, because it does on paper sound incredibly fucking stupid. Like, that's what I knew about Bored Apes when they were not that expensive, and now they're 104 Ethereum. And so, you know, but my whole argument back then was like, it's fucking stupid. And then it was probably 5 or 6 months ago that one of my buddies calls me and he's like, have you ever thought about getting into NFTs? And I was like, nope. And he was like, well, you're already big into crypto. There's this cryptocurrency called Solana. It's a much more affordable way to get into NFTs. Why don't you just start off with that, right?
Yeah.
And so he showed me this project called Solsteads. And the part that I thought was really interesting about it was just like how I'm big into collecting like sports trading cards. And just like that, when you open a pack of sports trading cards, the excitement is figuring out what you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
And that was the same exact thing with minting an NFT, where you don't know which one you're going to get. You have the, you know, Solana in your wallet, and you know what the Solana mint price is, and then you mint an NFT and you hope you get a fucking cool one, right?
Yeah, so you should talk about then what minting means. And then also I think it's a great point to talk about how Solana's cheaper, Solana-based NFTs and just like Solana blockchain or whatever.
Yeah. So basically an NFT is on a blockchain. So the most common ones right now are Ethereum blockchain and the Solana blockchain. Solana is much cheaper. It's like $90 for one Solana right now. It's like $2,500 for one Ethereum.
Which is low for
relatively. And so that's what we, at the time, he was like, Solana's cheap, you can get into it. So I bought whatever it was, like 10 Solana. And we tried to buy this project called Solsteads. They were incredibly hyped up in the Twitter world that I didn't know at the time. So we're on the website ready to mint them, and my mint fails, and like 3 of our other buddies' mint fails. Long story short, 2 of our buddies get them. They end up going to, in the next week or so, to an 80 Solana floor. So crazy. Yeah.
And then minting is when you invest in the project. You don't know what your piece is yet, so you randomly get assigned one. Hopefully you're assuming that's the lowest price you're going to pay. Of course, the price can drop below that, but at that point you're taking a loss. You hope that's the cheapest it'll be, and then you could that way get a super, super rare one randomly. Right. But when the project is revealed, obviously the rare ones become expensive very quickly. So there's a pro there.
Yeah, and once again, the easiest way to think about a mint is whenever you're opening up any sort of collectible. If you're opening up a pack of trading cards, you don't know what you're going to get, and the excitement is figuring out what you're going to get. Another, for people who aren't into trading cards, think about when you were 10 and you went to McDonald's and you got a Happy Meal. You didn't know which toy you were going to get. So the excitement is seeing which toy you're going to get, right? It's the same thing with NFTs. And so long story short, like I said, a few of my buddies were able to get one. They then skyrocketed in value, and then I was hooked. And the next project that because I then wasn't able to get into that one because so many people were trying to mint one at that time, and there were only 10,000 available, and I want to say it was like 40,000 people who were trying to get one, right? And so the next project, I was like, well, screw it. I'm all in on the next one, whatever the next one is. The next one ended up being a project called Pixel Dicks, which is exactly what you think it is. It's a pixelated dick. And I'm going to put one right here. One that I own, just to show that I have a pixel dick.
You held it forever.
I held, well, no. I bought or minted 7 of them.
Oh my gosh, go big or go home.
Well, because I was like, what if these are the next Solsteads? And they were not, okay? They definitely were not. And so I ended up being able to flip 4 of them pretty quickly for a small profit, or broke even, can't even remember. And then the other ones went to basically zero and they're worthless. And the founders of that project basically came out and they were like, yeah, to be honest, we didn't really expect these to sell out. And so we don't really have a roadmap or anything that we're doing with these or anything like that. But the whole point of that is I was then hooked on NFTs and became, just very interested in basically the ability to see if you could get, an incredibly rare one or whatever. And then also if you're able to predict which projects are going to do well, which ones aren't. And I look at that. I love investing. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to have like a thesis as to why you believe something is going to do really well, and then see if it does. And so just like when you invest into a stock, you're investing into it because you believe that's going to go up in value. Yeah. And at the same time, maybe you like supporting that company. I'm big into Apple stock, and that's because I have an iPhone, a MacBook, an Apple Watch, an iPad, iPhone, all these different things. And so I'm big into Apple stock, right? It's the same thing with NFTs, is if there's one that you're like, oh, I really like this project. So which project for you would you say was the first one that you were like, I'm really big in this and I really like this and this is the project I want to buy?
So I was not one of the like disbelievers that was like, NFTs are so stupid. I heard about NFTs. I was like, I have no money. I wish I could. I don't even know what this is, but I want to spend everything that I own on it. And that's just because of I started to get an understanding of like what Web3 was, which is Web 1. You want to go over Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and then why we were both excited for NFTs in that regard too?
Yeah, go into that.
Okay, so Web 1 would just be, let's say, the invent of the internet. Let's call Web 2 just a simplified version, social media. And then Web 3 is like really having a lot of autonomy, DeFi, and NFTs is an example of that, blockchain, where it's like ownership in the internet space and virtual reality, metaverse, all that good stuff. And so I really wanted to be at the forefront of that because we saw how Web 2, the whole social media craze took off, especially during COVID, TikTok, like, celebrities are now like TikTok kids, which is wild. Completely changed like the culture as we know it. And I think that I really missed that boat. I didn't know what I was doing with social media at the time. And I'm just not that interested in it, like as a practice. But yeah, like randomly did the social media influencer thing through like modeling, but wasn't into it. And then I started learning about NFTs. The whole art aspect really interested me. Investing aspect really interested me. And so, yeah, I just wanted to put everything I owned into it. And my best friend Jake was like, there are these little things called death bats. Avenged Sevenfold was the owner or the creators of it. And I was sold in 2 seconds. I learned that Avenged Sevenfold was also a partner in Sandbox, which is a metaverse. And although I still I don't even think they know exactly what, like all holders of death bats, we don't know collectively what that means yet. But I think, that's something we want to bet on that might show to have value later. So I bought one.
There we go.
She's cute.
And I think another way to explain that too is that when you look at, Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 again, I think a lot of people are very confused by that, right? And for a lot of people, they don't really remember the internet boom and then basically how a lot of stocks basically went to fucking zero that were in that, right? And that was in like 2002. Don't quote me on that. I was like 9 or 10, okay? I was very young. But all of that happened, and then social media, when I was probably like 17, 18, 19, became increasingly important. And I remember at that time realizing pretty quickly this is going to be a big, big thing. And I remember talking to a few people like Emily Tanner and a few of the people that are now really big in the social media space about how, you could essentially make a career out of that. Though at the time, that was a crazy, crazy idea. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when it comes to Web3 and you talk about blockchain, you talk about metaverse, you talk about DeFi, you talk about all these things, and people are like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And it's like, that's the same thing, though, when people talked about influencers and talked about Instagram, and the idea of getting paid for something like that was crazy, Back then, and I'm talking, when I say back then, I'm talking like 2011, 2012, when you said to somebody, you could essentially, make a living off social media, they would be like, for what? Like
I'm trying to be an influencer. Like, what does that mean? Right.
Like the term influencer, I don't even think was a thing. Yeah. I don't think influencer even became a word until probably like 2015 in terms of like a societally approved word that everybody knew, right?
Career path.
Yeah. And so now when you obviously say influencer, you say social media, everybody gets it. And so the thing is, though, it's a lot harder for somebody starting off now to figure out, how do I make my role in social media, and how do I blow up on, I'm struggling right now to get 100 subscribers on YouTube. Okay. This shit's difficult. Yeah. So speaking of, if everybody could subscribe, download, you like that?
Yeah.
If you guys could, I actually saw the stat. It's like 93% of people who watch my podcast don't subscribe. And damn it, people, hit the subscribe button because your boy wants to monetize these videos at some point, but currently it's just an expense and there's no profit coming in. So if you can hit that subscribe button, please do it. And I'll give you a goodie bag once I'm making money off these podcasts. What if I gave you a goodie bag for being on the podcast?
I want 50% of the profit of this episode.
Whoa, hey now. Well, currently I'll give you 100% because it's zero coming in. So it is what it is. But yeah, if you guys can subscribe, like, download the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. If you guys could do that, I'd very much appreciate it. And I'm not just saying that. Please do that because in order to monetize, you have to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and you have to have 1,000 hours of viewing time on your podcast.
How many do you have?
We're not there. We're not. What do you mean? Of viewing time?
No, of subscribers.
Oh, we're at like 77, baby. We're booming. We're booming.
Diversify that income. Mooning, baby. You going up there.
Yeah. So, hey, hit that subscribe button one more time. But yeah, I think, going back to it, I think a lot of people, once again, when it comes to thinking about Web3 right now, thinking about, all of this shit, they're just so confused by it. And it's because it is confusing. You're not going to watch this podcast and immediately know everything about NFTs, right?
I mean, you and I still
learning.
Barely know.
Yeah.
There's so much more to learn and there's so much unfolding. Like there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been figured out. You and I, even the projects we're invested in, a lot of the reason we believe in it so much is speculative. We are speculating what could happen, what it could mean, like,
right.
roll with it.
Yeah,
that's the fun.
Yeah, and then when you think about like when people got into Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those, when the people who made a shit ton of money, right, and I'm talking life-changing money, like multi millions, they were investing in that if they told anybody at the time, like I'm investing into Bitcoin, people would be like, you're an idiot. Like, so what the hell is that? Yeah. Oh, it's a digital coin that doesn't exist. Like, oh, fucking good luck on that one, buddy.
Yeah.
And now those people have Lamborghinis and Bentleys and Porsches and multiple homes, and we're all, sitting here trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Okay. So the reality of it is the time to make an advancement in this is now, right?
Yeah.
And you're hoping that when you start making moves in this, that you're making the right moves. And our goal with this podcast is not investment information because we sure as shit are not offering. Yeah, here's our disclaimer here. This is not investment information. We want you to take this and do whatever the hell you want to do. But go do your own research. Don't just trust us. Watch. There's a ton of other videos out there. Gary Vee has a ton of episodes about NFTs and things like that. Go watch those. Go into Twitter. Go on to Twitter Spaces. Learn from other people and then decide what you want to do. But the thing is, right now, there are people that are listening to this video who don't know shit about NFTs, who have the opportunity to make a shit ton of money in NFTs, but the first step is literally Googling what the hell is an NFT, right? Yeah. And I think at its most basic term, the non-fungible just means it can't be exchanged for another because they're unique, right? So Bitcoins are fungible because one Bitcoin can be exchanged for one Bitcoin and there's no unique properties that make them different. A dollar bill, same thing. But when it comes to NFTs, that's the thing that makes them, non-fungible is that when we mint those NFTs, they are unique from each other. So you're hoping that you get, just like when you were a kid getting a toy, you hope you get the really rare, cool toy, right? Yeah. And that's what we're hoping with these NFTs. And I think that's what makes it, the fun of, buying into a project and seeing if it does really well and then learning from that. Yeah. And I think that's the part about it that I like the most is just the learning of why you believe in something and then seeing where it goes.
I think that also you just can't be afraid. You have to really embrace failure, quote unquote. And I think that what was that quote that I said I loved? It was if you aren't failing, you aren't trying hard enough. Yeah. And I just think this idea of making it, you only don't make it if you stop trying to get there. Right. Eventually, every step you learn, every lot, you can't play with money you can can't afford to lose. Obviously, I've seen people be like, my college savings. I'm like, oh, bro.
My kids are screwed.
Yeah.
We have no money.
Yeah, that's not a move at all.
Yeah, don't do that.
Obviously. Yeah. That is, it's not financial advice, but
please don't do that. Yeah.
Don't connect those dots. But yeah, I've seen that. I think that it gets tricky there, but I think the fun too, and NFTs, you were talking about the non-fungibility of it, that aspect. Aside from minting, is they are all unique and there's different properties you can look into, and then you can get really excited about what you're spending your money on. I'm very into like property rarity and doing a lot of research on just like the artistic aspect of each project I buy into. So I don't know. I think they're really fun.
Yeah, and I think there's also like a community aspect of that too. Of, for example, when Odell Beckham Jr., a Los Angeles Ram wide receiver, when he purchased a dead fella, his had a like purple coat, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted to buy the purple coat dead fellas, and there's only so many of those that exist, and those started skyrocketing in value because people who are a big fan of Odell wanted to, feel closer to him, so they started buying those.
Not only that, but like people are using them. Because a lot of projects, this is not for every NFT project, but a lot of them, when you buy a piece, that you own that piece, like that is yours. You can use it. We've seen Adidas do that for branding. Like who got, was it Adidas or Nike that bought a Bored Ape?
I think it was Adidas, yeah.
And now they can use that Bored Ape like as their own logo.
Yeah.
And so I think that ability is really cool, and that's why people are buying ones that look like them as well, or have aspects or attributes that remind them of something they care about. Like Eminem bought one that people are like, oh, this is an Eminem Bored Ape. Like I think that the guy who sold that the Bored Ape that Eminem bought, he like a long time ago was like, this is an Eminem Bored Ape.
Yeah, I think he tweeted that. I think he tweeted like at some point, Eminem's gonna buy this Bored Ape because it looks like him. Yeah,
and now people are using him as PFPs, which is like, what does that stand for?
Profile pic. Come on now.
Profile pic isn't PFP.
PFP, profile pic.
Oh, the F is the F in profile.
Oh man,
I thought it was profile photo.
Oh no, you're thinking way too hard on that. It's just profile pic.
Remember, I was like, hodl. It's gonna be a hold until.
Yeah.
What was it?
Whatever. We're not judging you on that. But and then I think it was Jimmy Kimmel and Paris Hilton last week were on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and they were showing each other their Bored Apes and talking about why they got theirs, and Jimmy was explaining why he related to his and things like that, and I think that's one of the cool aspects of it.
And now things like Twitter are making the whole profile photo NFT like verifiable, so people really know if it's yours or not.
Yeah.
And then that goes into like also like what is blockchain? You were talking about showing ownership, how it reflects ownership.
Yeah, so to expand on what you're talking about there, so on Twitter, if you have Twitter Blue right now, which is the paid service on Twitter, I believe they're going to roll it out to everybody at some point, but basically when you go to change your profile pic, your PFP, you can essentially upload your wallet, your crypto wallet, to see which NFTs you own, and then it'll change your profile pic to a hexagon, and then that shows that you own that NFT, so that nobody can just be like, oh yeah, they can change their profile pic to this NFT that they don't own. This proves that you actually do own it.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool, because I think we'll eventually see that with Instagram. I think we'll see that with LinkedIn down the road. I think we'll literally see that with every different social platform. And right now, the Twitter world is basically where people talk about NFTs. Like, I don't really see it outside of you talking about it on Instagram. But I think as Instagram starts to do some of those things too, like verifiable NFTs and things like that, which I believe they're looking into, we're going to see a huge boom on NFTs as they become more and more commonplace and people start to understand them.
Also, just to note how stupid my idea of PFP was. That explanation I just gave you, profile photo, as if the word photo starts with an F.
Yeah, that was a struggle there.
You weren't going to call me out on that. You were just going to let that pass
Hey,
and the world see this and think that I think photo is spelled with an F.
Hey, listen, no one's perfect in this world.
As if I'm not the person that always corrects there.
Listen. At the end of the day, anybody's watching this, if they go, holy shit, I can't believe she struggled there.
I can spell and read.
We all have brain farts from time to time. That was a live brain fart recorded on podcast form. So everyone gets to see you have a brain fart there, but they also got to see you learn. Yeah. So they got to see you learn that pic is with P. So, and that profile has a P and an F in it. So, that was a learning experience. I'm glad that I could be there to experience that with you.
Thank you.
Now, I have a theory that one of my big reasons why I'm huge on the blockchain and NFTs in general is that we've seen in the last, I don't know, however many years, like 10 years, that the idea of authenticity has kind of gone out the window, right? Yeah. You have people that are wearing fake shoes. You got people rocking fake purses. You got people that are face tuning the fuck out of a photo. They're changing their body. They're nipping tucking that, changing that. And now what I think we're going to have, the next big boom is going to be authenticity. Like showing that I wouldn't be surprised if down the road there's a way to show that your profile photo hasn't been edited. Like I think that would be, to be honest, genius. I think that should happen. And so I think authenticity is going to be the next big boom. And I think that's the cool part about NFTs, because people talk about, well, once again, I could just copy and save that photo. That's the same thing as buying fake Yeezys or buying a fake purse or whatever. You can't prove that you own that because you don't. You have a copied version of that. It's the same exact thing of fake shoes. Yes, it might be cheaper to buy fake Yeezys, but at the end of the day that you're not rocking real Yeezys. Yeah. And even the person who's rocking those fakes, it still bothers them because they know that they don't have the real Yeezys, right? And
the thing is nobody else knows they're fake Yeezys.
Oh, no.
That's with the NFTs, then you go to the project, you look up that piece, and then you can see exactly the history of every hand that NFT's been in.
Right. But I will say there are some of the fake Yeezys are so bad that it is easy to tell. But yes, obviously there are some that are very close copies and things like that. And that's the cool part about the blockchain, is that the blockchain proves ownership.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that don't understand the blockchain is complex, and we're not sitting here as blockchain experts and knowing the ins and outs of it. But basically what it does is it just, instead of having when you had that brain fart, right? Everybody who's watching this podcast got to see you have that brain fart, right? So that brain fart is now on the blockchain, right? So it's verified by everybody that Tara Yazdi had an absolute brain fart on the Marc Holzer podcast, right? So from now on, that could be verified on the blockchain, right? Everybody can see it. That's how the blockchain works, is that everybody can see an individual transaction. So, and I've used this explanation before, but if I were to lend you this Tom Brady jersey, right? And then you're hanging out with one of your guy friends and he borrows the jersey, and then his buddy borrows the jersey from him. There's no way for me to prove that that's my jersey unless my name is literally written on it. Let's believe no one's doing that. So the blockchain proves ownership. It would prove that it was owned by me, and then it was and it's still owned by me, right? And so the same thing of if somebody changes their profile photo to a Bored Ape and then a bunch of people start copying it, you can prove you truly own that Bored Ape, right? And that's what makes the blockchain exciting, is that it proves authenticity, it proves who owns something, and that's what I think is going to be the next big boom in just life in general, social media in general, is authenticity of proving that you are who you say you are when we live in a world full of fake shit right now.
I mean, that, and we live in a culture that loves to flex. Everybody loves to flex in front. And I think that this will be a big clout opportunity for people. So
Yeah. And I think that's obviously, you're seeing that, when somebody says, oh, well, you're literally just changing your profile photo to a Bored Ape or whatever, there's the clout of saying that you own that Bored Ape, right? It's the same thing of when somebody buys a Lamborghini. You're not buying a Lamborghini because it's such a great car to drive all the time. Yeah. Let's be real.
All cars drive.
Yeah. I mean, you could get a $30,000 car that goes, does exactly what you need, get from point A to point B.
I mean, even less than 30,000.
Well, not now.
Really?
Shit's difficult to buy cars right now.
In New York, we don't have those.
Yeah. You have a shitty subway system.
Yep.
But yeah, no, cars are incredibly expensive right now. But that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's, that's what I think is exciting about all of this, is that how exactly the blockchain changes the way the world works, we don't entirely know yet. But it's the same way that with social media, is that when Instagram and, I mean, mind you, probably 10, 15 years ago, there was a new app coming out all the time that became the next big app that everybody had to have, right? To be honest, I look at Venmo as probably the last app that was everybody needed to have Venmo. Now there really hasn't been one as of recent that I can think of. And that to me is how I look at the end of Web 2, that we don't really have any of those prominent apps coming out anymore, right? But at one point back in 2011, there was Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all these different apps all coming out at the same time, and all of them becoming increasingly important, right? And so that's what I think when it comes to NFTs and the blockchain and things like that. We don't exactly know where is it going to go, how is it going to become an everyday part of our lives. But if you're at least dipping your toes in this and starting to learn, you'll be able to grow as we figure that out. Yeah. If you listen to a podcast like this and you're like, I don't fucking get it, I'm out, by the time you understand it, because eventually you will understand it, then you're late. So don't be fucking late. Just start dipping your toes in it and start to ask questions, because that's what we do. We're not experts on this. We're just simply asking questions.
Yeah, I think, and we're sharing what we know, and I think that it's good to share that you don't know stuff too. I don't think that there should be any shame or taboo around that.
Yeah. So, okay. So getting into NFT projects. So if there's a particular NFT project that somebody tells you about, let's say I come up with one randomly that I hear about. It's called the PFPs. Okay. What do you do to see if you believe in that project? Do you have like I guess like things that you start to look into?
Yeah. So far, okay. So this is a big thing we're about to unpack because
let's go for it.
Let's go for it. So there's like projects, I think that especially with Ethereum based NFT projects, it's harder to play in the space if you don't have a lot of capital.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I guess in my experience, my interest is flipping, although I've had attachment issues to everything that I've invested in so far and haven't put anything up for sale as of yet. I do look for like how hyped it is. And the way I do that is I go to Twitter. I see how many followers it has on Twitter, what kind of marketing strategy they're using there, their Instagram, and then I go into their Discord, see the members, see the activity, see what the community is like, and then if it's like we're talking about after reveal or before reveal,
either.
Let's talk about after reveal, so then we can talk about Rarity. And then so then I would like see how hyped it is. Hype is also a weird thing to follow because it's not quantifiable, obviously. So it's a weird thing to bet on, but it's something that I follow.
Yeah.
When I'm like seeing if I'm into a project, and then I obviously have to like the art. I think about if there's like a cultural impact it holds, which is a lot of the women projects we're seeing, like Women in Weapons, I think is
and Boss Beauties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really matters. And then I go into looking at Rarity. So then Rarity is an interesting thing because there's like general rarity, 1 to 1,000. Let's see if there's 10,000 pieces in the project. And then there's property rarity. And I've been playing with how to evaluate how valuable a piece is. And with property rarity, I think it's easier to see like margins of profit you can make if you want to flip immediately. So say my heart that has a zipper mouth, that's a sub 1% property rarity. So less than 1% of pieces have that property. Then you go into that property and you can see what everyone being listed at with a zipper mouth, what it's being listed at.
Yeah.
So if the first one is listed at 1 Ethereum and the next one with the zipper mouth is listed at 4 Ethereum, I know if I buy the 1 Ethereum, I could very easily then list it for 4 Ethereum or 3.99, and it would,
theoretically, it would sell. Yeah.
But now I'm learning that it's harder to sell these like middle market, which means like, to me, it means like an
NFT that's not priced at the floor.
Which is then we have to go into like what floor is.
Floor is just the lowest price that you can get that NFT at. So
which is like the most common ones usually.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
So that's where my story goes. So I look into that. I'm learning that sometimes it is better to buy at floor, but I am really interested in property rarity, so I look at that also.
Okay, yeah. And that's the thing is that we're looking into all these different factors. I look at a lot of who the team is. For me, that's super important. Like I want names. I want to know who you are.
So important.
That's a big thing in the NFT space, and then kind of just social media in general is there's a lot of people who don't want to dox themselves, aka they don't want to say who they are in real life, right? I hate that. And the reason why I hate that is because I want to know, I want your name on a project. If you're the one who's leading it, I want to know who it is because I want to know if I believe in you and your team and everything like that.
And that goes for accountability with like, then we can talk about getting rugged, which
right.
I just got rugged.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. And so Deadfellas was one that I first heard on a Twitter space, and it was the founder of Deadfellas, which I believe is a married couple. And so when I was listening to the two people talking, I thought both of them were incredibly smart people, and I just loved everything they were saying. And I looked at the art, loved the art, and I saw that they had art that I felt like would fit for women. They had art that fit for men, and that was important to me too because I wanted a project that I thought would be something that men and women both would support.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me to. I think Deadfellas was the first project that I bought into, and then. Ended up buying two of them at
that's a good first proj.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Bought them at like 0.8 Ethereum, and now they're a little over 4 Ethereum each. So if I did at this time sell them, that would be a 3 Ethereum profit per NFT that I had. That's great. Yeah. Obviously, so when we talk about flipping would be if you buy something and then quickly, once it profits, you sell it, right? Which, okay, when they doubled, let's say they went to 1.6 and I sold them then, obviously that would have been a solid flip, except I'd be kicking kicking myself right now that they're at 4, right?
Yeah.
So that is the thing that you have to weigh is if you're going to buy a project with the intent of flipping it, you better figure out the right time to flip it, because if that project continues to soar in value, you got to be real salty.
Yeah. But I also think that like that's a huge skill to know when to flip and when to sell. Because like you said, you'd be kicking yourself if you sold it too soon. You'd be kicking yourself if you sold it
or if you held on too long.
If you held on too long. And I think another thing to think about when it comes to like flipping that I'm seeing more applicable now that I'm seeing crypto drop, because I'm new to the space. Obviously, I've only been doing any of this for like a month.
Yeah.
A project that was 0.5 Ethereum before when crypto was $3,500, 0.5 looks a lot better now that crypto is $2,500.
Right.
So even if, the floor never goes up and I sell it for 0.5, the same that I bought it for, that's still a profit because 0.5 is worth more USD now, US dollars. So that amount of Ethereum, that's what I'm looking into now that Ethereum's dropped. I'm looking into like old projects I was interested in that might have at the time been a little bit over my budget. And then with flipping, we could also mention like what paper hands are and diamond hands.
Yeah, so when it comes to paper hands and diamond hands are two common terms in this whole space and in the stock world and things like that. Paper hands just means you sell very quick, and diamond hands means you hold on to it. So taking like Bored Apes, for example, those were about $900. I can't even remember what the amount of Ethereum was at the time, but about a year ago, were $900. And now the lowest cost Bored Ape is 104 Ethereum. So 104 Ethereum times like $2,500, do that math, it's a fuck ton of money. Yeah. So if you had diamond hands and held on to it, you're looking great right now. If you sold it, I mean, hey, you probably still had a massive profit, but just not as much profit as you could have had. Yeah. And so you have to figure out the right time to sell it. The thing is, no one's ever going to be perfect on that. Yeah. Obviously, there's going to be some projects you sell and they end up skyrocketing. There's going to be some projects you hold on to and they go to shit. So that's part of it too.
Yeah, and then talking about projects that go down, getting rugged.
Yeah.
Just happened to me, and the importance of doxing, just to like come back full circle on that. The project, I was following the hype. It's called The Companion. I'm calling them out by name because I'm hurt. I hope that it goes back up, but it's not going to.
Well, so what happened?
So I followed the hype. It was my first mint, so I didn't know what I was going to get. I didn't know much about it, but I saw they had a lot of followers. There was like a lot of eyes on it. I invested in it. The founders were not.
Did you fuck with the art at the time? Be honest.
I thought it was cool.
Be honest. How much on a scale 1 to 10? How much did you love the art?
Love is a strong word. I didn't hate the art. I thought it was cool. I thought it was like fun.
Okay.
To love art, it didn't move me.
Oh, the Dead Fellas, I fucking love the art. Like thoroughly love it. I bought a T-shirt with it on there for a reason.
So I bought it. I didn't think it was like the most incredible art in the world. That's obviously subjective. I thought if other people think it's the most incredible art, it could be a cool flip. And the founders had never doxed themselves, which means that no one knew who they were. And they kind of dipped out. They were just not being responsive. They weren't engaging in the community at all. And then chaos ensued in the Discords. Dude, anarchy. People are weird.
I mean, you fuck with people's money.
Yeah, but it got real weird real quick. And then somebody else, like one of the Discord members, doxed the guy. These are also like, there are hackers who can hack hackers.
Yeah.
So he doxed the guy, and then suddenly, somebody, like the guy came back in and he was like, I'm going to dox myself. This is why you should have faith in the project. The reveal date, all those things never happened on time. They said, but a reveal did happen, and it is quickly falling. Right now, the floor is very close to zero, far below what I minted for. So I would consider that getting the rug pulled from under you, which means you got scammed. And it happens to the best of us. Not saying I'm the best of us, but...
So what'd you learn from that?
That doxing is a very important aspect to look for.
What else did you learn? You're telling me evaluating a project, that's the only thing right now. It's just doxing.
I mean, that specific one, what do you think? Like, I didn't...
Do you think looking at it in terms of, you said you looked at it in terms of hype and that there was a lot of... I
still think that that's a thing to follow.
I do too, but there's also the fact that people can buy likes and buy follows and buy comments and things like that. So was there anything in hindsight looking back, the doxing also the not really knowing, like you didn't love the art. You said you liked it, but that it wasn't a strong endorsement there.
I don't think that you should only buy projects where you are obsessed with the art.
No, but I think there's got to be, I think you have to look at it. Take Fishy Fam, for example, right? Fishy Fam was a project that was minted last week. And so when I first saw the art, I said, that looks cool. I really do like the art. I can imagine it used in a lot of different ways. That's kind of the way that I view it, is like, not only just do I like the art, but do I see it becoming a part of like culture, right? Yeah. And so with Bored Apes, like you've seen that. Bored Apes have become, they're only going to become bigger and bigger role in just pop culture in general. Yeah. And so I look at the art a lot of times and just kind of say, can I see that on could I see that in a magazine? Could I see that on a t-shirt somewhere, a sweatshirt, whatever. Even the other day I sent Little Lemon Friends, another project. They just put out a mock-up of what their sweatshirts, when they come out with them, what they're going to look like. Yeah. I fucking love them. I think they look sweet. Even if you don't know anything about NFTs, I think you'd be like, that's a cool sweatshirt. Yeah. So I look at the art a lot of times and think, does that translate to pop culture, or do I think that's just like, it's decent art? It is what it is. And so I looked at Fishy Fam. I said, yeah, I think that's great. Like, I think it's a really cool art piece, right? Then they came out and they minted, and they had an epic failure with the mint. I'm not going to get into all the details. It's too long to explain, but basically the mint did not go well, right? And so when the mint didn't do well, they then went onto a Twitter space to kind of explain what happened. And when they did, they came out way too hot. They started calling people fucking idiots. I mean, they went off. Oh yeah, it was insane. I went in there. I had money ready to go. I missed the mint, but I was going to still buy one. I was going to buy one at like 0.6 Ethereum, which is a fuck ton of money. Yeah. And I was going to buy a few. And then I heard these guys talking, and I was like, these guys are fucking assholes. And I mean, if they're listening to this, they came across like a fucking asshole. I don't know if they could be the nicest guys in real life, but they came across as raging dickheads that day. And the community saw that. And all of a sudden, the people, hopping into the Twitter space and talking to them, I think it was in this Twitter space for like 7 hours, because it was just nonstop. People it was intense. It was some drama. Okay. Yeah. And the project hasn't done as well since. People did not like what they were saying. A lot of people who are in the NFT community came out and just said, hey, how you're talking to the community was not acceptable. Right. And it'll remain to be seen what happens with the project. Like I said, when I was looking at buying it was about 0.6. Now it's about 0.3. We'll see. Maybe it goes to 0. Maybe they end up somehow rescuing it. But the whole thing is, it's important to look at a lot of different aspects, right? Obviously, I get the whole, when you're looking at something in terms of a flip, but you also have to be careful of, if you're looking to flip something, I want to see if I'm right on this. If you're looking to flip something, it probably means there's some sort of reason as to why you don't believe in it long term, because you're not holding on to it, right? So obviously, when you mint a project, you're getting it theoretically at the lowest price that you possibly can, right? Or that you think you can, right? Yeah. You can. And so then obviously your goal is for it to go up a little bit, and then you flip it. But there has to be some sort of reason as to why you don't want to hold on to that one long term, right?
I think that I also just got, I got lost in the sauce of hype. I didn't look at the roadmap. I didn't investigate the utility and how vague it was. And I just was like, people are into this. Let me get in and get out real quick. And it didn't work. I learned. I'm glad that I learned that. Sucks that I lost $600. Yeah. Sucks bad. Yeah. But it happens, and I won't make that mistake again. And I think another thing that you're talking about that is like a good contrast to what you just said with, what is it called? Fishy Friends?
Yeah, Fishy Fam.
Fishy Fam was with Alien Friends, which their Discord got hacked and a bunch of money got stolen from the Discord members, and everyone thought it was going to burn down after that. But then Mason, one of the founders came out and said, I'm so sorry. This is a horrible thing that happened. I'm going to replace everyone's money myself.
Right. And I think it was like $300,000. It was
like $200,000. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, see, this is going to the ground. And I was like, watch, this is going to make it so much more hype, because now people trust the project. People trust, and they're going to take care of each other. Yeah. And this is a strong foundation. That's, to me, that's a project that I would want to just hold on to my piece for the community and to see what it grows into. They're doing some cool collabs now. The Heart project that I'm in is also doing some cool collabs that I want to hold on to my heart for a while, just to see what rolls out. They just did a song with Lil Dicky, made a song. I also think a cool thing about the Heart project is they have the community vote on the things they put out. So like the community voted on what shoes they have a shoe that came out. I don't know if it's been dropped yet officially, but the community decided on the design for that. The community members can submit designs, and it's like all very like, we're in this together. Wag me. We're all gonna make it. You see a lot of that in there, and I believe it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, this is what the point of this podcast is to also explain our learning process, right? So I learned by the pixel dicks of, hey, Marc, a pixelated dick, probably not the most genius thing in the world, right? And I lost far more than $600. Yeah. So if it makes you feel better, way more.
It doesn't make me feel better. I hate to see you lose.
I mean, but I also want to learn. You can't, if all you do is take wins, you're going to have an epic loss because at that point you're going to be far too comfortable, right? So actually, I almost prefer some people have some losses right off the bat, because it's good to learn. It's good to learn from us kind of looking into a project of, hey, this might be a great quick flip, and then that burns up in our face. Yeah. And that was the exact same thing that I was doing with the pixel dicks, right? I looked at this as like, well, hey, if this blows up, I'll sell it immediately because I don't fuck with pixel dicks, right? Yeah. And then I realized quickly after, well, Marc, if you don't, fuck some other people don't either, and next thing you know, you just lost like $2,000 for no reason, right? So it's just important to think about, with anything, again, why you're buying into it, why you're investing into it, why you have it's that thesis statement, right? Like, why do you believe that project is going to go up in value? And if you can answer that with confidence, then you probably should invest in that. And if you can't answer that, if you're not sure why it's going to go up in value, then you probably shouldn't, right? Yeah. And so that's something that I feel like I've learned with all of this, is to really look at the team. And it was a bummer with Fishy Fam, because I looked at it and I was like, I really do like the art, but I'm like, but if I don't believe in the people who are leading that project, then how can I feel confident putting thousands of dollars into that project? And I couldn't, and therefore I didn't. I
think a way to see too if a project's being led well is to check out the community and the Discord and see how people speak to each other in there and talk to each other in there, because a lot of people invest in projects just for the community as a networking opportunity. Like you're seeing with Bored Apes, like people are buying it now, not just for the flex. People are selling $500,000 because so they can also go to these events that only members who have a Bored Ape can be invited to and network there. That's an incredible networking opportunity. So yeah, I think the value shows in a lot of different ways.
That's the same thing with V Friends from Gary V. That's his NFT project.
Dude, I wanted to be in that so bad.
Yeah, and the people who got a V Friend, you then have access for 3 years to the V Friend conference, where they're going to have people come out and speak and talk about all sorts of things, right? Yeah. And so for everybody who buys one, now he's talked about there's some longer term plans that are going to be even bigger than that. But basically, everybody who buys one, you got to think about, they're very, very expensive. They're 5 digits to buy, right? Yeah. So everybody that's going to that conference is probably somebody who's decently successful, because that's a lot of money to be able to purchase that NFT for. So if you're going to that, it's a great networking opportunity, no matter what you're doing, no matter what world you're in, no matter what career you have or anything like that. It's a great networking opportunity. And that's what, when people talk about the community aspect, that's one of the things that's incredibly important to look into, is just kind of like, who are the people that are purchasing this NFT project, and are there actual in real life benefits to buying this NFT besides just the cool profile pic?
Yeah, I think the thing with V Friends too that makes it unique is Gary has some pieces that when you buy them, you can have them like on your podcast. One of the utilities is. And if you're someone that has a podcast like you, that could become very beneficial and valuable for you. Yeah. And something you can monetize off like for yourself. So I think that is a great sign of leadership. I really wish I was in that community.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah. The next project he comes out with, you guarantee both of us are going to be trying to mint that, And that's the thing, once again, about looking into all of these and figuring out why you believe in it, right? And Little Lemon Friends is a project that I started looking into because I thought the art was cute. And then next thing you know, I look and they do all these Twitter spaces where all the people in this community come out and they cook chicken together. They literally have like a lemon cooking chicken thing. Yeah. And it's adorable. And I was like, I love that the community is all supporting each other, and they do these town halls and things like that. And they're just really, really big with showing love and support to each other. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And when I went into the Twitter space, it was a lot of the same people over and over again, which I thought was cool because people knew each other then. Yeah. And these are people that have probably never met in real life, but yet they've started this community online, and I thought that was a really cool aspect of things.
It's almost like a different iteration of social media. Yeah. That brings people together where you can interact with each other, and you all have this thing in common. which you believe in, or you've invested in this project for whatever reason. So I think it's like a very safe space. It's good vibes.
Right. And then, so this is a great segue into decentralized autonomous organizations. So DAOs, that's another big aspect of the NFT community. So when you buy into an NFT, you get access to, if that community has a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, where basically that gives you voting right then to vote on certain things with that project, right? So that might be as simple as, hey, we have these merch designs coming out. Which one do you guys like the most? Vote on that.
Yeah.
Or, hey, in our roadmap, we're debating doing this, this, and this. Which ones do you guys want to see us do, right?
Totally.
So that's a cool part about it too, is that you then have a say in what happens with that project, which I think is another cool thing that people get excited about, is the ability to have a voice when, otherwise you might not.
Yeah, no, it's a unique thing. We're gonna see how, obviously, you and I'm not invested in as many projects as you, but I'm excited to see where the different projects I'm in, like how the roadmap unfolds. Because the thing I've seen with roadmaps too is they are kind of vague at the beginning, some of them, which I also think is like not a good sign. So I think that specific roadmaps are also a green flag you should look for when investing. But yeah, just knowing that things can come out of a project that you never expected, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And I think for everybody who, if you're somebody who's coming into this looking at it as an investor, if you're somebody who's coming into this looking at this as a creator, there's a lot of different ways, going back to the whole like social media comparison. When Instagram first became a thing, there was a lot of photographers who figured out ways to turn their photography into a full-time career based off of building up a large following on Instagram and things like that. There's a lot of photographers now who are finding ways to therefore sell their art pieces, as NFTs, and make a killing doing that. Even myself, obviously, as a photographer, I'm looking into, is there a way that I want to do that, right? Yeah. And I don't have that answer yet. There's still things that I'm looking into, but I think this is one of the exciting things about NFTs, is just the multiple ways that people can use them for their own good. You can come in as an investor, or you can come in as a creator. I think we might even see down the road people doing things like releasing a book as an NFT, right? Take like J.K. Rowling, for example. If she released one of the Harry Potter books as a NFT, let's say this is back many, many years ago when she first launched them, right? Yeah. If every time then one is sold to another person, she receives a royalty of that, my God, I don't know how much money she has right now, and she has a shit ton as is, but she would have even more, because the royalties on that would be incredible. And that's something that, let's say she said, hey, you know what? I'm going to release the next extended version of Harry Potter as an NFT. So you have to, if you want to read this, you got to own the NFT. Yeah. It would go stupid viral. Yeah. And that's the thing that's really exciting about all of this, is that you receive, if you're the creator of a project, you receive royalties from every single sale. So if I create an NFT and then Tara buys it, and then Tara's friend buys it from her, and then somebody else buys it from that person, I get a royalty every time that sale goes through.
Yeah, that's why go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's just one of the exciting uses of NFTs, is just where could that be used in digital art, in books, in music, for seeing music artists if they release an album as an NFT. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways that it can be utilized, and we're on like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that. Yeah,
that was going to be my point, was like I've seen a lot of artists talk about how they want to release music in their next album as NFTs. I don't even fully know, like you're saying, like I don't even fully know what it'll look like, but something My Death Bats, the creator, said was like they're looking into doing fractionalized royalties for their next album for everyone that has a death bat. And like, we don't exactly know what that means. I don't even know if they fully know what that looks like yet, because it's like a projected utility they want to provide, but it's really exciting to see how that's going to unfold.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of this is, once again, we don't exactly know. We're learning every day with all of this. I mean, you and I have had many, many conversations about NFTs, and we talk all the time. And, once again, if somebody's watching this and they've been in it for, 2 years, 3 years, they're looking at this and like, oh, wow, these people have a lot to learn, right? Yeah. And that's fine, because there's going to be somebody else who watches this who has literally no clue about any of this, and they're going to learn from our experiences, right? And then, if we do a follow-up episode of this 4 months from now, 5 months from now, obviously there's going to be a lot more that we know in even just that short a period, right? Yeah. And I think that's the exciting part about all of this, is just learning, learning. And that's one of the reasons why I invested so much money into this. I mean, just for like transparency purposes, I put about $30,000 into NFTs at the end of December. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to actually have, some solid money into it so I could learn from, is this something that where do I think this project is going? Is this one a flip? Look at Boss Beauties, for example. I bought that one and I kind of thought, okay, this is a flip. I like the art, but I don't know a ton about it, but I did really like the art, right? And so I bought it at 0.6 and then it went up pretty quickly to like 1.4 and I was like, okay, that's solid profit. I could sell it. Then I started to read about the founder of Boss Beauties, and I was like, she's amazing. What she's doing is amazing. And the fact of like her whole message behind the project of showing that women can do anything they want and they can have any career that they want. And then the fact that they help fund scholarships and they do all these really cool things and they have partnerships with Marvel and Target and all these things. I was like, wait, one, I'm mad that I didn't buy more of them. Yeah. And two, I was like, I can't sell this because I love it, Yeah. And so, that's the whole thing about all of this is that you're learning. And so, Deadfellas, I ended up buying a few of those. Alien Friends, same with that. What else do I have? I think I have something else.
Lemon Friends.
Yeah, Little Lemon Friends, and I'm constantly looking into more. And like, Fishy Fam was one that I was going to get, but then I decided not to as a result of their actions, right? Yeah. So all of this is a huge learning experience, and so I wanted to have, to dip my toes in, and each person has a different path. Obviously, I've been in crypto for a while, which gave me the luxury of being able to put more money into it. And for yourself, you're looking at it of, okay, I got to start off a little bit smaller, but then I'm hoping to flip, and that's the cool part about all this is the success stories that we've seen. Yeah. I mean, I saw somebody the other day that sold their Bored Ape for over 100 Ethereum who bought it at 0.08 Ethereum.
Oh, love to see it.
Yeah, and that's going to be you.
Knock on wood. Hope so.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So, that's the cool part about all of this is that, yes, it is an expensive thing to get into, but there is a different path for everybody that wants to get into it, right?
And also, I think it's good to know that, like we talked about, you could start with Solana, which is a lot cheaper, because the thing with Ethereum that really sucks too is the gas fees, which are fees that you get charged to basically do anything, like to put something up for sale, to send
transaction fee, essentially.
Yeah, and they are heavy and fluctuating. Yeah. So, but with Solana, it's very little. So I think it's easier to flip there, get some money in your pocket, and then switch over. Right. Ethereum.
And that's how I started was Solana NFTs, and there were some I got burned as a result of trying to do the flips and Pixel Dicks and several others. Yeah. And but the thing is, Solana right now is about $100 a coin, and so it's a lot easier to get into that and to start buying some projects with that. One of the ones that I'm really big on in Solana is a project called DGods, and the DGods team is brilliant. Like I really hope they actually end up putting out an Ethereum project because I just love their entire team, and I do actually have more faith in Ethereum NFTs than Solana NFTs. Maybe I'll be wrong on that. We'll see. Once again, still learning. But
not even still learning. That's changing every day.
Right. Yeah. Very true.
That does.
Yeah. Very true. So the DGods team, their ability to adapt has been incredible. They tried out at the beginning of their project putting out this thing called the paper hand bitch tax. And what the PHBT was a tax of if you sold your NFT below the floor price or below the mint price or below the last sale price of that NFT, you were hit with a 33% tax, which is an ass kicking, right?
Wow, that is so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. That was an epic failure, okay?
Yeah, what? That's a lot of pressure.
The idea of it was really cool, and I strongly believed in it. What they saw was what happens when there's somebody who needs immediate liquidity, right? Yeah. Let's say you actually need to pay a bill at home, and you don't have the luxury of just holding on to that, right? If you wanted to sell it, and let's say you put it right above where that the pretty paper hand bitch tax came in, if it wasn't selling at that, you would need to go lower, right? Yeah. And so the issue with that was the 33% tax was then used to buy DGods and burn them, right? And so that was the cool part about it was the whole idea was that as people sell it below floor, below the mint, below whatever, that they would get hit with that tax, and then you would end up burning a lot of DGods, and so the supply of them would go down, and so the price would go up, right?
They become more, each one's
more scarce, yeah. So that was the idea behind it. But once again, the issue is there are times that people need immediate liquidity. There's times that the NFT market fluctuates, and so what they saw was that this isn't working. It was not, the mint price was 3 Solana. It went up immediately to 18 Solana, which was fucking great. And then it cratered back to, at the lowest, I think it went to like 4 or 5, right? And so now it's back to around 10 because what they did is they realized, okay, the paper hand bitch tax is not working in the way that we wanted it to. And so they decided to implement a staking system where people who have a DeGod could stake their DeGod and they would receive a thing called dust, right? And then what they're going to do is they're going to release other NFT projects where the way to mint that NFT project is with dust.
Yeah.
So what they're also doing is they're then taking the royalties that come in from the sale of the DeGods and they're buying super expensive projects in the Solana world. So, for example, one of them is the SMBs. And so they're basically they're buying a very, very expensive Solana project and then they're auctioning that off once again where people have to buy it in dust. And so the only ways to get dust are to either stake your DeGods or to burn one of your DeGods. So if you burn one of your DeGods, you get even more dust, which then therefore encourages people to buy a DeGod, burn it, so the supply still goes down.
Strengthening the project.
Yeah. So but the thing I love about them, because for some people, once again, they're probably listening to this and they're confused because a lot of that is pretty complex. The thing is with it is that what I like about the DeGods team is that they're willing to adjust and learn things. And so they saw something wasn't working and they made an adjustment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of projects at the moment they have this unique idea of this is what makes us different. And then that unique idea doesn't work. They fucking panic and they're like, this is over with, and the project goes to shit, right? Yeah. That's the part I really like about the DeGods is that they said, okay, we realize that something's not working. We're listening to the people that are within our project, and now we're going to make an adjustment for the betterment of the project. And then, hey, if that doesn't work, we're going to try something else. Yeah. But that's what I like about their team and why I believe in them. The art is cool. The team is cool. And, and that's what I like about them. And the community is incredible.
Yeah. And then another thing that I think I've seen how project founders or leaders or whatever strengthen their project is incentivizing people to hold or do something specific is with my crypto jankies. And we also saw this with Bored Ape Yacht Club. They released with Bored Ape Yacht Club, it was what is it that you can mutate? It's like a can of
you got a serum that you could use to then mutate your Bored Ape into a mutant ape.
Exactly. And then so with crypto jankies on a much smaller and more affordable scale, we got a pill.
Yeah.
And then the pill itself also costs Ethereum. So you were automatically airdropped this thing that has value that you could sell the pill or you could use it, and then it would burn the pill, and then your crypto jankies, you would get a second one, a head trips NFT, which is now you have an additional NFT piece that is going to have some value that's going to fluctuate, but you essentially got that for free. Of course, there was a gas fee to burn the pill, but I think that's an interesting way to get people to hold and to strengthen the project, because even I wanted to originally flip my crypto janky, and then I was like, oh, let me just wait until I get this pill, see what comes of that. And now I'm in it. They've rolled out other news about collabs they've done. They did a collab with Bored Ape Yacht Club. They did a collab with Gucci. Now I'm staying to see what that collab, what benefits I can get as a holder from that collab, or if I get on a whitelist, which is basically you have early access and cheaper access to how would you describe
to minting.
Well, whatever they put out.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that looks like, but I don't even know yet. But I'm now holding to see what happens.
Right, and that's once again the whole thing with all of this is that if you believe in the team, then you believe in their ability to make adjustments, which is why I'm so big with why I look at a project like Fishy Fam and I'm like, I can't get in that because I don't believe in the team. Yeah. But I look at a team like the DeGods and I'm like, I love their team, and and they've had. They're big with Twitter Spaces too, and having those and having the community talk to them. Even Roast Umber, coffee company that I co-own, we gave out a 33% discount to everybody who owns a DeGod, and we made it the coupon code, the Gods. Yeah. And the amount of people in the community that have supported that has been crazy. Cool. So many, and there's so many people that are then posting about the DeGods or posting about Roast Umber when they receive their Roast Umber, and then just talking about coffee in general, and they're like, oh, you got to check out Roast Umber. And that's the part about the community that I think is really, really cool, because we had literally our best day ever of sales as a result of the DeGods, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. And so,
I'm so proud of you.
So that's one of the things about the whole community, and just the part that I don't think people understand until you're in it is that you're like, what the fuck do you mean about a community? Truly a community. It's all these people that support each other simply because it's not about what our differences are. Fuck our differences. Yeah. The whole point of it is we're all in this together, right? And that's where the whole term WAGME comes from, is we're all going to make it, is that you're not talking about political differences. You're not talking about religious differences or if someone's female or male or whatever. Nobody gives a shit. Everybody just cares about supporting each other. And that's the part about like this whole NFT world that I love, is that when people first told this to me, you know, the community, blah, 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 I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about until I got into it.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing that I'd recommend to anybody in this is like, dude, just get into it. Like, buy a small project. Who gives a shit if you get rugged? So do something that you can just like lose, whatever. But learn, and you have to start somewhere and start off with something small, learn from it, and then just continue growing. And then ask yourself, like we've done on this podcast, why did you buy that? And then if you got rugged, why do you believe that that happened? What would you do differently moving forward? And then if a project did really well, why do you think that is? And how do you try to replicate that moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with every point that you just made.
Yeah. So I think that's a great place to leave off. Is there anything that you think we missed?
Probably lots, but there will be lots of points that we'll later learn that we totally went over or missed or got wrong.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a good end.
And that's what I think is cool about all of this, is that it's a learning experience. So there's no doubt, like, I want to have you back on and talk about this, because you and I are both, once again, we're not experts in this. We're learning every day.
Yeah.
And so there's still a lot we don't know. I'm sure we'll listen back to this and there's parts of it that we're probably like, we could have said that better. Yeah. But that's part of it, is that we're learning. And so, yeah, we're not experts. They say you have to put 10,000 hours in to be an expert. Ugh. We're sure as shit not there yet. But that's the whole thing, is that this is, even us just having this conversation is us learning about our thought processes and why we believe things. And we'll learn from having this conversation. And then once again, for somebody who's listening to this, if you're still lost, literally go on to Twitter and go on to YouTube, Twitter or YouTube, and just search, what are NFTs? And you're going to learn a shit ton. And that's the big thing, is ask questions. If there's anything in life you don't understand, the only way to get to a point of understanding is to literally ask questions.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I mean, you know, people make fun of me because I ask so many questions. I've been bullied in school because I ask too many questions, but I think it's good. I think it's a strength to be inquisitive, and I've learned that you have to proactively teach yourself things and put yourself out there to really gain new skills. And you're never gonna learn enough about anything if all the information you get is just stuff you hear when like people are casually talking about it. You really have to get into the nitty gritty, and it's daunting, but you see how it's less daunting once you get started, and you start to find direction, and you start to move through it, and you start to figure out what you don't know about what you don't know, so you get a little bit closer every day. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, once again, you know, there's a lot of people who could listen to this, and there's, once again, going to be parts they don't understand, and there's going to be some people who just go, I don't get it, and they move on, right?
Yeah.
Anybody has the ability. We're not famous. They could message us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and say, hey, I need some clarification on this, and we'd be happy to give them that clarification. Some people will be willing to do that. A lot of people won't, right?
Well, there's also stuff that we don't even know yet, that we didn't, like staking, or the way that we've talked about, we talked about like not talking about things because we don't know about them well enough. How staking works, and how with some projects you can use them in the metaverse to make money, pay to play or play to pay, whatever that saying is. Like, we don't know how that works, but we're still in it. We're still trying to figure it out. And I think that we have a better shot of figuring it out since we're hands in and hands on. And I think that you can't be afraid to learn.
Yeah, I mean, you can't learn about anything in life unless you start to ask questions to begin with. I mean, I go back to, and I've used it as an example before, but like 2 years ago, I didn't know how to do a podcast, didn't know how to record video or anything like that. Now this shit looks legit, but all of it comes from, thank you. All of it comes from asking the question to begin with of like, how?
Yeah.
And then just getting started. You can't get anywhere without getting started.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, literally, think about anything in life. You can't get anywhere in life without just getting started to begin with, and that would be my advice to everybody in this. Once again, not financial advice, but you know, it's just get started and learn as you go. But don't be afraid to fuck up. And once again, to realize you're already ahead of everybody else just by watching something like this and by asking questions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So to wrap this up, can you tell everybody what's your where can people find you? What's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? All that good shit.
Okay.
Start with Instagram. Instagram.
That Persian girl Tara. My Twitter, I think, is TaraYazdii.
There you go.
Real creative there.
Yeah. Tara Yazdi with 2 A's and 2 I's. There you go. There you go. Anything else you want to say? Anything?
That's it. What else?
Subscribe, download, like the podcast.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
Can we get me above 100 subscribers? Come on now.
You got it, Mark. We'll get there.
Yeah. Are you following me? Are you subscribing?
Do you have to have a YouTube channel to subscribe? No, I subscribe. You sent me the link. No, do you have to have a YouTube? I think I have a YouTube channel.
This is a great learning opportunity. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. If you have a Gmail email, which almost everybody does, then you automatically have a YouTube.
I did subscribe, actually, Mark. When you sent me that link, I subscribed. I didn't even know if it would let me, but I was just like, I'll click this button, which you shouldn't do in any Discord of any NFT project because you will get scammed. It's almost happened to me plenty of times. It will take all of your money.
Yeah, be careful what you're clicking.
Yeah.
In life in general, be careful what you're clicking. That's a be careful on the internet. Yeah. But yeah, so that's our lesson. That's our biggest lesson in all of this. Ask questions, be careful what you click, but continue asking questions, learn from everything you experience, and once again, the only way to get to point B is to get started from point A, you know? And that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.
No problem. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.